Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the pod on the Apex Review of Miami.
Bye bye.
Yes. Uh, what a race, Aniket. We see the McLaren domination continue for what the third race running now. And this was complete, total, utter domination with the McLaren 1-2, and of course our favorite Georgie boy on the podium once again out of absolutely nowhere. But let's
Does nothing
discuss.
gets a podium.
Yeah, exactly. But let's discuss that in a bit. Let's come to the big story out of Miami. At least if you're a Ferrari or a Lewis Hamilton fan or both. Aniket, what the flying hell was Ferrari doing in that race?
Yeah,
My
but
goodness. It
just before we talk about Ferrari, I'm sure the audience will see our outfit for today. We are dressed in Miami
Yeah,
wear
yeah. This is the
for the
pod on the
special.
Apex special overalls.
Yes, this is a special livery edition of Pod on the Apex. So, if you have comments on how we are dressed and how outfit is, please leave them. So we'd like to read them and feel happy about it. But now let's get back to the pod. And yeah, Ferrari, I think you mentioned it, just an awful weekend for them. It started out very bad with Charles Leclerc crashing in just before the sprint started.
Yeah.
But then it was kind of okay with Lewis Hamilton getting a podium
Oh yeah, I totally
out of
forgot about the
nowhere.
sprint. The race
Yes,
screwed my mind so much I forgot that Ferrari actually did well in the sprint. Uh,
they did well because they
half.
they had a good strategy for some reason,
No, 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 no,
and
no.
it
Okay,
worked out.
let me correct you, Aniket.
Lewis
Ferrari did
Hamilton
not
made
have a
this.
good
Yeah,
strategy. Lewis had a good strategy.
Lewis had a good strategy. I think
Ferrari's strategy was sending Leclerc to test the track in wet conditions on intermediate tires, which basically
yes.
caused his crash.
Correct. And also Lewis wanted the soft tires and Ferrari wanted to put him on the medium. So there again Lewis took his own strategy call and got his tires of his choice.
Yeah.
And actually that resulted in good success because he was the first ones to pit or for the slick tires, and then
Yeah.
he just zoomed past everyone and finished P3 behind the McLarens.
Yeah, he took
So
the chance, right? He took the
it was a
chance,
chance,
pit
yeah,
a couple
and
of
it paid
laps
off.
earlier than everyone. Ferrari was never doing that.
He had nothing to lose. He took the chance and it worked out well. So
Ferrari would probably pit him for wets.
I agree. So, so that part of the weekend was fine, but then quali came and again everything went downhill. Lewis was out in Q2. I think Charles was in P8, like about half a second or something behind everyone, behind the top
Yeah,
guys.
Yep,
And
you're right. Half a second behind, and Lewis
yeah,
was out in Q2.
Q2, and the race wasn't any better, right? We saw them struggling around P8, P9, P10 on that position throughout the race, fighting with the Williams, and
Yeah,
they did not make any inroads to the guys in the front. And then they ended up fighting amongst themselves because of Ferrari's strategy, wherein one guy, the driver behind, had the better tires, but they did not want to let him through till the very last moment. And what happened after that was the driver behind again had the better tires, and then he had to swap with the guy in front, and became a whole mess. And then it allowed Williams to come close and almost overtake
no,
Lewis
hold on,
Hamilton last lap.
hold on. That's not even half the story. That's not even half the story.
I'm
The
trying to
full, the
summarize
full,
it
the
because
full story is no.
the full story might take an entire hour.
The full
We
story
might
is
have to
they
do
tell
a whole
the
debrief.
the full story is they tell the driver behind that we're going to swap you, but don't tell the driver in front that he needs to swap.
Exactly.
Complete utter clown show, man. Complete utter clown show.
I mean, they did it well in China, but then today, sorry, on Sunday they had a weird shit show
Yeah,
in terms of not informing, not being transparent with their drivers.
right.
And Lewis's teammate was so hilarious, man. I felt like laughing so much, especially the
Man.
one where he told Adami to take a tea break, and also when Sainz was coming past, he asked Adami if you want me to let him by as well.
Yeah.
Just on one.
Man, so, just for our viewers who didn't watch the race, a quick recap for what happened at Ferrari kerfuffle, as Crofty says. Um, so, Lewis started the race on hards because he was in P12, and that was, I guess, one good thing that Ferrari did. Start him on the hard tires, make him go long so that he has faster tires to finish. And Charles in P8 started on the usual strategy that everybody else at the front of the field was doing, starting on mediums. And then Charles played for hard somewhere lap 19, lap 20 when all the people, when the dominoes fell and everybody was coming into pit. So Charles was on hards. Lewis obviously went long because he was on hards, right? So, and then, I don't know, few laps later he switched to mediums, right? Lewis Hamilton. And now at this point, Lewis was behind Charles, right? And Lewis was also being followed by Carlos, right? And Lewis was obviously faster. Lewis was on mediums. He was faster. We even saw on Saturday in the sprint that Lewis on the faster tires was having a much better time. We saw Lewis really struggle on hards in the beginning of the race, but Lewis on
Yeah,
mediums, the car just turned on. And I think that is something with the Ferrari this year. The faster tires kind of work well for them compared to, say, the hards. We've seen that even in previous races. But yeah, Lewis was on mediums. He, I think, was lapping very quickly, and he wanted to catch, P6 Kimi, right? And
yeah.
then he's asking his team to swap him with Charles because he's faster. He's just being held up in the dirty air. And Aniket, Miami is not the easiest track to overtake,
It's not.
right? It's a street circuit, narrow tracks, sweeping corners, and both. It's two Ferraris, right? They're roughly evenly matched as well. So Ferrari's like, yeah, we'll see. Just they hold him up for what, 5, 6 laps. They just keep postponing, and then eventually they swap. At this point, Carlos was catching up as well, and eventually they swap.
And Lewis lost his advantage which he had on the
Yeah, his
first lap.
tires were cooked by that point, sitting in the dirty air
Yes,
of Charles, right? Tires were completely cooked. And then he couldn't catch Kimi in P6, right? Because tires are
P7,
complete.
right?
No, Lewis was in P7, right? He couldn't catch Kimi in P6, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so he couldn't catch the car in front. Basically, what our position was, he couldn't catch the car in front because his tires basically got cooked. They overheated, right? Sitting behind Charles. And by now, the hards of Charles Leclerc turned on because it's, the hards take a few laps to kind of get into the, the window and all of that. And now Charles was faster behind Lewis on those hard tires. And then Ferrari tells Charles, we'll swap you. And they don't tell Lewis. So now Charles is sitting and wondering, when will I get to when will I get to go ahead, right? And what happens? Nothing. Just nothing. And eventually they swap him, and by all this drama that was happening in between these two cars, who catches up? Mr. Carlos Sainz. And he was just 1.4 seconds behind, which is when
Yeah.
that famous radio message happened. When Arami tells Lewis Carlos 1.4 behind, and Lewis asks, shall I let him pass through? Aniket, by the end of the race, Carlos was less than half a second behind Lewis.
I mean, he went for a very audacious move for which
Yeah.
he should have been penalized. But the stewards investigated Lewis instead. That's another story. But yeah, I mean, the less we talk about Ferrari, the better it's for our sanity, I feel, right now. They are not improving, they're just going backwards. And today they were competing with Williams for the fourth best. What, fourth best team? Yeah,
No,
fourth
so
best team.
at this race, forget the sprint. I mean, Lewis got the podium in the sprint, so I give Ferrari a pass there. But in the race, Ferrari was the fifth fastest team because remember, Aniket, Alex Albon was in P5.
Yeah.
So you have the McLaren 1-2 at front, so that's one constructor. Then you have Max in P3, that is two. Then you have, Max in P4, that's two. George Russell in P3, so that's three constructors. And then you have the Williams of Alex Albon in P5. Then you have Kimi Antonelli of Mercedes again, Mercedes. And then you have Ferrari in P7 and 8. So that's four constructors ahead of them. After
And
all that,
Williams did a brilliant race.
yeah, exactly. After all that drama which we saw the winter,
Hmm.
what do we see? Fifth fastest car in race 6 of the season. Like, we even had a round of upgrades. I mean, sure, Imola will probably get the major upgrades and all of that, but Ferrari have done minor upgrades in the first 5 races. So it's not the same car as even that started the season.
But it's the same team that finished like what 7 points behind McLaren last year's constructors championship, taking it down to the wire, and now they're like I don't know, like probably like a
I don't
whole
know, man.
100 points behind, I guess, at this point, and they're getting nowhere better. Basically, trying to ruin their own season with whatever little success they keep having.
It must be the
Because
water, right?
I'm sure that the race, the what do you say, the livery of the car didn't make it any better. That awful livery deserved like an awful finish. Yeah, after all. But we'll see where they go from here. At this point, they're not going anywhere.
So, Aniket, let me ask you this. I know your allegiances lie more to Lewis Hamilton rather than any specific team, and you obviously joined the Tifosi family this year with Lewis Hamilton switching to Ferrari. Now, you supported what Mercedes for a good decade, and I
Yeah,
guess McLaren for a few years before that when Lewis was at McLaren, right? Is this your worst year of supporting Lewis?
it's not that bad yet because it's still the Ferrari, the red at this point still has its charm. So I wouldn't say it's like the worst year, but I mean 2022 was worse to begin the season because
Are you sure? Lewis already looks dead inside, man. 2022 is optimistic that the team will do something to improve
I
the car.
know 23.
At this point, Lewis looks like he has no optimism in Ferrari left
I think
that they'll improve
24
the
was
car.
worse to be honest. 24 he was completely dead and buried.
He won 2 races in 24, dude. You think
He
Lewis is
did
winning two
like
races this year?
half the season he was there and buried because of the car. And this season he won a sprint, so we were optimistic. He gave us like success, man, in the first three races.
Yeah.
So well, we all thought it's gonna be like that kind of a season where he's fighting for wins, but it's just gone downhill after that. So there definitely needs to be some adjustment on the car, and we hope it's coming soon. Otherwise, they just have to start focusing on 2026,
I'm
and then
hoping
we can
from
accept
15
the
years,
reality.
man.
And then we can accept the reality that we'll have a bigger discussion on Ferrari maybe towards the summer break or something if it
Yeah.
still stays the same. Because even Charles Leclerc has been in the car for like 7 years now and not won anything. In terms
Wow,
of
has it
and
been
Oscar
7 years?
Piastri is
Wow.
like just 3 wins away from Charles's total win tally for Ferrari, which is a little embarrassing
I mean, the
for
McLaren is a much
Charles.
better car.
Yeah, I know, but Charles has been in the car for 7 years, and Ferrari was a better team for most part of those 7 years than the McLaren,
But they're
except for
never
the
the
last
outright
couple of
best
seasons.
team, right? McLaren is the outright best team.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, Charles is like he basically Charles devoted his life to Ferrari,
Yeah, yeah.
and Ferrari is not repaying him for that.
Yes, that I totally
So,
agree. Ferrari is just turns up garbage after garbage every season, right?
yeah,
What was Charles' first season? 2019, right?
yeah,
Uh, Decent car, had reliability issues. Then they do some illegal stuff.
yeah,
When Charles is faster than a car with DRS behind him. Uh, remember Monza when Charles was pulling away from Lewis who had DRS, and
yeah,
then so FIA obviously they do some under the behind the scenes investigation. They kneecap the team. 2020 was absolutely terrible for Ferrari.
yeah,
One of the worst seasons, absolutely worst seasons. 2021 they started to come back a little. I think they were what third that season, uh,
yeah.
third or fourth something better than 2020. And then again,
2021 they were third
yeah,
behind Mercedes and Red Bull.
Red Bull, right? And then 2022 again, same old story. Start the season off very strong.
Yes.
Leclerc wins 2 races. He wins Bahrain. He wins Australia. When Max and Sergio had that double DNF in Australia. Ferrari looks very, very strong. And then you see the familiar strategy mistakes again, right? Monaco screwed up. What is it? France when Leclerc just cried his lungs out.
Yeah,
Um, Car reliability issues. The mid-season upgrades completely tanked the car, took out all the pace. The ride height changes also did not help. I think
yeah,
remember that was the season with Porpoising, and midway through the season, FIA thanks to Toto Wolff uh, increases the ride height of the car. That completely killed that Ferrari that year,
it does.
right? And then 2023, that was Red Bull season. Nobody had a chance that season. Red Bull was so dominant.
Yeah,
And then 2024, yes, that was, yeah, we had a at least the constructor championship there was some hope because Sergio Perez was so bad in that second Red Bull. But again, drivers championship not a candle. Ferrari had no chance last year in drivers championship, right? And then this year again we talk about, oh, it's what, Fred versus third season, and then
Yeah,
he has done a lot of improvements. Now he has Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, arguably the best driver pairing on the grid of any team. I'm not even being, it's not me being partial as a Ferrari fan, but Ferrari have easily the best, driver pairing on the grid this season. And yet we finished P7 and P8 because the car is just so bad. If Leclerc didn't feel indebted to Ferrari for giving him his career, he would be long gone by now.
I agree.
Yeah.
And anyone in that seat would have been frustrated by a long time as of now.
Yeah, I mean, we can see Leclerc being frustrated every
I mean,
season now.
frustrated probably in the third or fourth season because
Yeah, yeah,
you're in a Ferrari and I mean that which should win races, but instead you're in a shit box. Unfortunately,
yeah,
it's a shit box, as they say. It's a shit box.
yeah.
Yeah.
Back in 2020 when that Ferrari was so bad, we we used to call the Ferrari Truckerari. And yeah, man, this season looks to be the same again. It looks to be the Truckerari edition.
The strange part is they won a race. They won a sprint race outright
Yeah,
from
yeah,
pole.
yep, man. But
It's just crazy, man.
yeah, man, I really have no words. This,
Yeah, I think we should
this.
move on to
No, I
the
just
other
I
game.
just wanted to show this to the stream.
I think there's a lot of Ferrari stuff we can take in a separate pod because Ferrari is like a team which deserves their own 30-minute pod from us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me put it on the stream.
I think the best
Yeah,
moments from Ferrari's race was when they drove the Lego car.
yeah, yeah. I want to say that that was the best time, man. Lewis and Charles were so happy when doing that. But yeah, like I said, this is how Ferrari season feels like. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton completely depressed. You finished P7 and P8. Like, what the flying heck is going on, man? Like this is just, yeah. I have no words, man. Um, yeah, like, and like you said, they look the happiest when
Yeah,
driving the Lego cars.
I know.
Uh,
I know.
they're really having a ball, and you know the media tries to spin the narrative as, oh, maybe Lewis and Charles are not getting along well and all that. That Lego uh, video completely dispel all the notion. The problem is not Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. The problem is Ferrari.
The problem is Ferrari and management, and Fred Vasseur needs to like
Yeah.
definitely do something about it because they were
Fred
coming
Vassar
from
needs to
Lewis.
change their strategy, man. I don't know what he will do, but this is the third year. I mean,
I
third
think
year of his leadership.
Fred and Lewis met after the race, and Lewis told him to keep his calm and don't be so sensitive and all that. So things definitely look.
That was funny, man.
Was fun. I
Like,
thought it was like a fake tweet or something when Lewis actually said that to him.
yeah, he actually said it, and it reminds me of remember what's the 2022 when Mattia Binotto was telling Charles Leclerc something like this. Obviously, we didn't have audio, but in the pit wall, like Binotto was saying something like, calm down, you'll get your chance or something like that.
Hmm.
And now they're also reverse, right? Lewis is telling the team principal, calm down, don't be sensitive.
Yeah,
But man,
and there's so much of miscommunication in that team. I feel.
yeah,
Because of
like
these.
somebody, a common theme after the race people are saying was just connect Leclerc's and Hamilton's radios and let them decide
Yeah,
the strategy.
exactly. I think that's the next best thing to happen. That's the next best thing that should happen.
Yeah, and somebody else was saying, oh, just hire Carlos Sainz back as chief strategy officer for Ferrari.
Anybody, man. But I think the race engines definitely are not doing a good job at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
Like,
lot of
how
like,
do you not
lack of
tell the
clarity.
other driver to swap after telling one driver that you will be swapped, and then you don't tell the other driver to swap. And now the guy behind is thinking that guy in front is just being an asshole to me by not swapping. The guy in front has no idea that he's supposed to swap. And then you waste more laps, cook the tires even more, and you even almost lost P8, right? As low as you were in the race, you would have lost even that. And then you would finish
Yeah.
P9.
No.
Like, I mean, I get it, the car is, not the fastest and all of that. But if you look at the standings, Charles is P5 and Lewis is P7. Lewis is behind Kimi Antonelli in the standings. And
Yeah.
Charles is behind George Russell. Should that, be? I mean, Ferrari is fourth, man. Definitely. Nobody was thinking Ferrari would be the
Yeah.
fourth best team this season, right? Like, with the amount
Especially
of.
after what Mercedes has been going through last 3 seasons,
Yeah.
and also with Red Bull being so uncertain with their driver lineups.
No, and
So
remember, Red Bull is still a one man lineup.
yeah,
Yuki Tsunoda has 9 points. That's like nothing. Like that's the thing. You have a team. Uh, fun fact: if you remove the 9 points of Yuki Tsunoda from Red Bull, they will still be ahead of Ferrari in the constructors' championship. So basically, Max Verstappen is ahead of two Ferraris, right? Come on,
yeah.
man. Like that should not be the case. That just shows you how badly the Ferrari drivers are finishing each race, right?
This shows how bad the direction of the car has been
Yeah.
from last season. Whether they should have kept like the same car and done some few tweaks. But
No,
then
I think the
remember,
same car wouldn't have worked because lap times are much faster than last year.
yeah, I'm not saying the same car, but the same concept. But they've overhauled the entire concept, right?
Oh
They
yeah,
have
yeah. Didn't Vassar say
changed.
like 95% of parts have changed or some
Yeah,
number like
so
that?
I'm not sure if that is the right way to go about it now. And when you go
Yeah.
and look at it in hindsight,
And they should get upgrades quickly and upgrades that work. Again, not
but
like
the thing now is, do they want to focus on 2025 so much, and
that is
instead
also
of just
true.
win the season and start focusing on 2026?
Yeah, but at least upgrade your strategy, man. That should not take too much.
Yeah,
Like tell the drivers at the right point when to do stuff.
I know.
But like even remember last year, Ferrari had a good start, and then their in-season upgrades. Or after I think after Monaco, their upgrades completely screwed the car. The car
Yeah,
completely lost pace, and it took till after the summer break for the Ferrari to come back to form. So that's what I'm scared. They let's say they release an upgrade at Imola or Monaco, and then the car completely goes to garbage and it starts finishing out of the points. Like it can go lower, folks.
uh,
Anyways, enough of Ferrari. Enough of Ferrari. We need to give Oscar Piastri his due. What is third consecutive win for
yeah,
McLaren?
yeah.
First
For the
driver
first
since
since
Mika
Mika
Hakkinen.
Hakkinen, first McLaren driver.
Yeah, I mean something that even Lewis Hamilton could not do at McLaren.
Yeah,
I think he did it at Mercedes later, but never at McLaren.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think Oscar Piastri. How how much is Oscar thanking his stars for that particular tweet few years ago?
yeah.
Man, what a brilliant payoff for not joining Alpine, right? Imagine Oscar Piastri in that blue and pink Alpine today.
Oscar stars are definitely lucky,
Yeah.
and
I think
he's
he did
like,
see the writing on the wall on how Enstone is run and that McLaren was
yeah,
a
he
team on
had
the
some
up and
foresight, I guess, of
yeah.
that, and he made the absolute right decision, and he's probably the most deserving
Yeah.
championship contender we have this season based on number of mistakes he does, which is very less.
Yeah.
You know, the only issue with that McLaren right now is their quali pace because they're still not able to get it done over one lap. We see, again saw Oscar lose a bunch of time in the first sector.
Yeah, but who cares? Did you see how they overtook
But
Verstappen
I
in the
know, I know.
race?
I'm just saying that's the only weakness they have.
Yeah.
I mean, they might not get a pole every race, but they
Right.
definitely probably win a race because they are so good in the race. They
You know
can they
what that
can win
reminds me
some
of?
probably like 10th place also or 15th place also doesn't matter.
You know what that reminds me of? 2023. the season when Red Bull was so insanely dominant,
Yeah.
they didn't get many pole positions that year. Leclerc and Sainz used to get a lot of pole positions. But
Hmm.
what used to happen in the race? One DRS and Max is ahead of you,
Yeah.
right?
But
I
we didn't
think
expect McLaren to be ahead so far ahead this season when
yeah,
after what happened last season when so many teams were in a shot to win
right.
towards the end of the season.
Yeah,
So this is a
totally.
major surprise. It shows that McLaren has taken a step in a completely unique direction that no team is able to match right now, and they are the
Yeah,
top of the constructors right now, and there's no catching them. And now we have had a bunch of different kind of tracks, and they're like fast everywhere.
everywhere.
So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, they built like a rocket ship this year, I feel, and if not for Lando's mistakes, we would probably see Lando versus Oscar every other race, just like how we saw in 2014-15 with Nico and Lewis.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also, I mean, definitely Oscar deserves his view. He did the best possible job he
But
could.
yeah, actually, this race Lando was pretty quick.
He was. If
He
not
fell
for the
very much behind, and he took a while to overtake Max and the
yeah,
other cars that he fell behind. But once he overtook Max and came to P2, he was cutting the gap to Oscar.
he was flying. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was flying. Maybe because I mean, Miami is something which suits Lando based on last year's victory as well. So I feel that could be the case. But also, like, he had a bunch of time to make up. So if not
Mm.
for that lost positions in the beginning of the race, he should have probably let Max through and overtaken him in the next couple of laps.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's instead of trying to go around the outside. So he would have kept his P1 with that, and he could have won the race. But again, we saw like Lando being a little immature at that point because he knows that Verstappen would not give him room, but
Like,
still
but this
went for it.
time, by this point, he should know, man.
He
Like,
should know exactly.
and
The
just
track
compared to
was
how Oscar races Max, right? Oscar and Max never run into these issues. Always Lando. It almost feels like Max is just trying to needle Lando, and
exactly, and unfortunately, Lando is going for it
yeah.
every time. So
You don't see Max doing this with Oscar or Charles or any other driver on track, right?
yeah,
It just Lando.
yeah. I mean, that's how the McLarens are right now. So we predicted before the race McLaren to win,
Yeah.
and so we got
I
that,
did
and
predict a Ferrari podium. It just happened in the wrong race. I
it
predicted
happened
for
in
the
the
race, it
sprint.
happened in the sprint.
And I predicted a Russell podium,
Yes,
and
you
Russell
did.
got a podium. I did. If you go
And
back
also
into
your
the
your hot take was that Lewis will be on the podium, and that happened too.
that happened in the sprint. Yes, that's how I am kind of a winner this time around. So we'll get okay. Let's get to George. It's a good segue to George. I think again, Mercedes, they are definitely the second or third best team at this point.
Yeah.
Very close with Red Bull, especially Max. And who expected that, right, after last couple of seasons? But somehow Lewis's experiments worked, and they're back to kind of the right track for that, for them. And Kimi is also doing very well, especially in qualifying. He did very well this race.
Man, what a weekend for Kimi.
P1 in sprint and P2 in quali, or
Yeah.
P3 in quali.
Yeah.
So great stuff from all. I mean, the race pace was. I mean, the problem with him in the race is he eats up his tires too quickly. So he needs to fix that, and then he'll be right there with George.
I think
Uh,
racecraft he will learn. He's still a
Yeah,
rookie, but quali shows you that Kimi is insanely quick.
he's got that raw pace which Toto had banked on, and he's bringing it
Yeah.
to these races. I mean, we didn't think, right, after that crash here in Monza last year that he could be this good because he just. I mean, because that's the last memory we had of him, he
Yeah.
crashing a car. But
I mean,
this time
forget
was
out qualifying
instant
McLaren. The
quality.
McLarens are, like you said,
Yeah,
they're not focusing on quali pace. But Kimi is out qualifying his teammate.
yeah,
That is huge.
that is huge.
In race 6 of the season.
Yep, great stuff from Kimi. I think on the other hand, Max did. If you come to Red Bull, Max had like a good quali because as we said, McLaren are not focused on
Hmm.
on quali pace. But then he fell off in the race. He couldn't manage to fight with the McLarens who are on another level. And this could be the kind of the story of season where Max kind of gets a pole every other race, and McLarens take it from there. So I don't
I think
think
the Red
Max
Bull
is.
is also eating its tires a lot
It is.
more.
It's got some brake issues. It's also eating its tires, and
Yeah,
that's pretty
Max was
known in
complaining with the
Miami.
brakes
Yeah,
all through the race.
He had a lot of lockups also in this race,
I mean,
uncharacteristic.
that's why the first turn incident happened, right? Like this time it was not Max pushing off or anything. He just outbraked himself,
Yeah,
ran deep, and then he was trying to come back on track, and there's no space because Miami is so damn narrow.
exactly. So, I mean, yeah, I think Max will be content with a P3, P4 till, Red Bull fixes their issues, which we don't know when.
Yeah.
But it does look like for the first time in what, 4 years that he may not win the championship from this early stage. So
Something
we
about
might
Red
have
Bull and their drivers only winning 4 consecutive titles.
a yeah, and this again will open up can of worms upon I mean, with respect to where Max drives next season.
Yeah, maybe Max comes to Ferrari. It is Red Bull champion path, right?
Yeah,
And then Max basically he won't go to Aston Martin like Vettel did. Max will just retire. Like, I'm done with the shit. I have my kids to take care of.
and finally, if we come to Williams, great weekend for them, right from quali sprint to the race. I think they did a very good job. I don't know, for some reason this track suited their car, but
Yeah, high speed corners, a lot of straights, and we have seen the Williams traditionally do well on straight line speed, right? I mean, they did sacrifice a bit of straight line speed this year to be better in the corners because last year you
yeah,
could see they were absolute garbage in the corners, and it was hurting them in tracks with more corners and less of straights. So they did do the trade off a bit, but again, their car is again well suited for such tracks.
yeah,
But did you expect Alex Albon to finish ahead of Carlos? Because Carlos seemed to, be getting the hang of the car till last
he
race.
did, he did. I think Alex just preserved his tires better
Yeah,
for the race, and he did, manage them well. He did get over Antonelli also, which I didn't expect.
yeah.
So
Because Carlos
Alex again
qualified
had,
ahead of Alex, but
yeah, brilliant race from Alex and Carlos as well. I mean, overall Williams going in the right direction. Again, in line with our preseason prediction that they would be like the fifth fastest team.
yeah.
But right now they are probably the fourth fastest team in front of Ferrari, at least from this race. So yeah, I think that's all about the race. And if you talk about the bust of the race, again, my prediction before the race came true. It was Fernando Alonso who had a disastrous weekend.
I said
Uh,
Lance Stroll. I think basically we said Aston Martin to kind of,
yeah, and
sum it up.
and like Alonso really is lacking motivation at this point.
Hmm.
Uncharacteristic spin in the race. Obviously, the crash in sprint with I think it was Lawson or someone didn't help.
Yeah.
But the race itself, he just spun uncharacteristically and just lacking any motivation right now, and still hasn't scored a single point this season.
Guess who the last two cars in the race were of those who finished.
Stroll and Alonso.
Yep. P15 Fernando Alonso, P16 Lance Stroll. But okay, to give some credit to Aston Martin, Lance Stroll finished P5 in the sprint. How, I don't know.
I think it took advantage of the changing conditions, and
Yeah.
also Verstappen had that penalty, so Verstappen didn't score any points. And Kimi Antonelli had that drive through, accidental drive through because Verstappen crashed into him.
Yes. But Aniket, Lance Stroll qualified P16 in the sprint,
So
and he
you're saying
finished
we should,
P5.
so you're saying we should give him drive of the day just for
Yes.
that?
Going from P16 to P5 while being Lance Stroll. Uh, yeah, and also the race, something else, Aniket, was that the top 10 were completely in the 5 top constructors. None of the bottom 5 got into the top 10 this race.
Yeah, it does show that they are a little bit ahead of everyone else right now, and
And yeah, I think your rookie prediction came well. I think, didn't you say Isaac Hadjar?
I did say Isaac Hajar. I
He was
think he scored.
P11. So
Did he
P-
score points in the sprint?
in the sprint, let me see. I don't think so. He was P10 in the sprint, so no.
Okay. So,
But
but he was the
in
best of the rookies this race. I mean, we're leaving out Kimi Antonelli,
yes,
obviously.
so even in the sprint, I think Kimi was obviously the best rookie, but then after that it was Isaac Hadjar, and then Lawson, Behrman, Boatler, Doohan are all behind. And in the
Yeah.
race, this was the first race this season where we had 4 rookies DNF.
Hmm.
All the rest of the four rookies basically, they're the only four DNS of the race, and all the four were rookies. Lawson, Bortoletto, Behrman, and Jack Doohan. And yeah, also Isaac Hadja was just what is this? 0.17 seconds behind Yuki Tsunoda in P11. So he was very, very close to getting a point. Um,
Yeah,
Talking about the rookies, do you feel bad for Jack Doohan?
I do because it does seem like, that could have been his last race
Yeah.
in Alpine for a while. In Alpine for a while because it's imminent, very imminent that, Franco Colapinto is going to take his seat. We have predicted something like this might happen based on how Jack Doohan did in his first 5 to 6 races.
Yeah.
And, it just felt that he was not there, with
Mm,
the car, and a lot of damage had already been done. He
right.
did have a few good showings here and there, but the damage bill that he's caused to Alpine has probably risen quite a bit in the last few races, and the first lap crash at Miami definitely did not help. So yeah, I think that his time is up. He
Mm,
got 5 races before the start of the season to show his worth, and it does seem that it's not gone right.
yeah,
And
but
unfortunately for Jack,
mm.
we won't be seeing him anymore.
And again, let me ask you this. If we just go over, let me quickly narrate Jack Doohan's results to you before I ask you the question. So starting off, and I'm going to compare him with obviously his teammate Pierre Gasly as well. So starting off in Australia, um, Gasly finished P11 in the race, and Jack Doohan DNF'd. And also Gasly out qualified him as well. Gasly went to Q3, Jack Doohan was 14, so Q2. And then we go to China. China, similar story again. In sprint qualifying, uh, okay, this was, no, sorry. Yeah, sprint qualifying, sure. I mean, there were, Jack Doohan was 16, Pierre Gasly was 17, but yeah, I mean, who cares? Both did bad. But again, in the sprint, yeah, he did finish ahead of Pierre Gasly, but again, you don't get points for P16 and P17. And then if you go to the race qualifying for Shanghai, uh, yeah, he was P18, Gasly was P16, and again, the race I think was pretty forgettable for both drivers.
Yeah,
Gasly got famously disqualified that race, and Doohan
yeah.
finished again P13. So again, no points. And then we go to Suzuka. Suzuka, similar thing again. If you look at qualifying, Doohan was P19. He had a very bad qualifying in Suzuka. Gasly was P11, missed Q3 by a tenth. So again, Gasly kind of at this point starts to show, as you see in the results, Gasly starts to show his advantage and his much higher seniority and racecraft experience over Doohan. Again in the race, Gasly was P13, Doohan was P15. Sure, you can say it's close, but we saw in qualifying that, Gasly was showing the signs of that. And then Bahrain again, Gasly
Marin, I think, was a
qualified
good race.
P5.
Yeah,
Gasly
yeah, yeah.
qualified P5 in Bahrain. Doohan was P11. Sure, I think
Yeah.
this was the first time Doohan showed some promise.
Yes.
He was P11 and he was 200ths of a second behind P10, which was Yuki Tsunoda. So again, not a big achievement. But again, Doohan was started to show promise. But again, in the race, Gasly got points. Gasly finished P7. Doohan was way down in P14, kind of undid everything that he tried to do. Saudi again, Doohan was P17. He finished a lap behind Oscar. Um, yeah, Gasly did not finish that race. Too bad. But yeah, again qualifying, Gasly goes to Q3. He's P9, and then Doohan was P17 in qualifying. And then Miami, of course, we know what happened. Miami, uh, Doohan again P14. Gasly, sure, he was P18. But then the race, you see Gasly in P13 and Doohan DNF from the first lap. And so if you come to the points, Gasly has 7 points because he finished twice in the points and Doohan has 0. Now my question to you is, after that rambling result review of the two Alpine drivers, do you think Colapinto will do better than this?
I think he definitely has more speed than Jack. So his raw speed might just get him to a P10 in quali.
Keep in mind, he was in a Williams last year, so that car also has better raw speed than Alpine.
Yeah, but we are banking on Jack Colapinto's talent as well. So
I mean,
we
Doohan is
think
no
that
slouch. Have you forgotten Colapinto's crash build to Williams last year?
I know, I understand, but he also showed a lot of pace despite the crash, despite of the crashes he's had.
Hmm.
While Jack Doohan, unfortunately, barring a few races here and there, has not shown true pace in that car. I mean, the car is not like the best car, but at least
Yeah.
he could have probably done better showing. At least not crashed it so many times,
Hmm.
and shown that he could keep on the track and at least do a solid job. But he's not shown that, and we always thought that when Colapinto was signed, that Colapinto will be getting that job sooner rather than later. So they're gonna put him in that car from Imola, and they're gonna hope that he can drive that car up to like say a point or two every few races with Pierre Gasly as well. And with Pierre
Hmm.
Gasly, probably they make a better team than Drouin and Gasly. So uh, I think this just hope against hope for Alpine. Now they're just throwing the dice at what they have, and we'll see. Colapinto is someone who probably deserved a seat in F1 this year, based on at least his first initial outings with Williams when
Yeah.
he was just kind of the star on the grid. And now we'll see what he's made of. New team, new environment,
Hmm.
a car which is not as good as the car which he was driving probably last year. So now we'll see if his talent which he has does come out or not.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, but I think the main thing that I see is that hmm, Jack Doohan has had a much better junior career than Franco Colapinto. I mean, Colapinto was honestly, I mean, sure, he was part of the Williams Academy, but if you look at his junior career, it's not that great, right? The last few seasons, he was, I mean, ninth in F2 last year. Sure, he didn't participate in the last few races, but even before that, I mean, fourth in F3 was his best finish in his junior career. Compared to Jack Doohan, Doohan was, he used to be also part of the Red Bull Junior team, right? He was also a reserve driver for Alpine last 2 seasons, and he finished. Uh, he didn't race in 2024. He was a reserve driver, so he didn't race in F2 or F3. But 2023 he finished third in F2, and then 2021 he was second in F3. So I think I know Colapinto did show some promise last season, but we also saw Colapinto do a lot of crashes last season. Now
Yes.
I know doing his crash before some angry Colapinto fan starts going at me in the comments. But honestly, I'm not sure if Colapinto will be that much faster than the Alpine. Like the car is also not the best. Like last year, the Williams was in a much better state. I know they finished P9 in the constructors, right? I'm aware of that. I'm also aware that Alpine was P6, but that was one lucky result. Not lucky, driver skills. I agree, but that was one result in a rain-soaked Brazil, which
Yeah.
obviously rain always levels the cars out, and we saw that to great effect in Interlagos last year. But if not for that race, Alpine would roughly be the same where Williams was. They're probably beyond Williams before that point. So yeah, I mean, I honestly am skeptical. Um, I mean, Flavio previously said that Doohan has till the summer break, right? Uh,
Yes. That's what we also thought.
yeah. So why don't you give him to the summer break? I mean, like 6 races. Like
I
it's
think teams are just being harsh on the drivers, and it's the new reality of F1.
yeah.
I mean, the most famous being Red Bull, obviously, but
I mean, see,
the drivers are not doing enough
Okay.
time.
Red Bull replaced Liam Lawson with Yuki Tsunoda, who's a much much more experienced driver who in fact deserve that seat, right? I don't know in 7 hells Red Bull put Liam Lawson in that seat, but you can still make an argument there, even though again I
Yeah.
never agree with that too of replacing Lawson after 2 races. He just caused 2 drivers trauma, not just Liam, even
Yeah.
Yuki Tsunoda to start the season. But with Alpine, it's you really can't say for sure that Colapinto is a much better driver than Doohan, right? So yeah, I mean, I honestly don't see the point. I think Doohan was showing promise, again, he's a rookie, so obviously you'll have, some of those missteps that rookies do. You see it with Kimi as well. Qualifies on pole, leads up his tires. Obviously rookies do rookie things. They learn. But yeah, I don't like that. After you publicly say that Doohan has till the summer break at least. I mean, come on. First of all, when you sign Jack Doohan, why the hell are you signing Franco Colapinto? Right? It's not like Colapinto had a drive this season.
Exactly.
It's not like any team was lining up to sign Colapinto. Right? I think all that nonsense about Red Bull signing Colapinto was just that nonsense. I mean, they have Yuki Tsunoda, they have Isaac Hadjar, there's so many junior drivers. There's no reason they would sign, Colapinto. I think what it feels like is Alpine just jumped the gun trying to get ahead of
Even the
possibly
Colapinto
Red Bull
mistakes.
to sign Colapinto. And then they painted themselves into a corner because they gave Jack Doohan a contract much before that.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, I feel bad for Doohan. I mean, this is a career killer, right? You get
We
6
do, we do,
races.
we do.
Don't you think this is a career killer for Doohan?
I hope it's not. I hope he does
I
well.
hope
That's
it's not, but it does feel like that, right? I mean, F1, like you said, it's unforgiving,
yeah.
right? Um, I mean, at least Liam Lawson still has a drive because Red Bull has two teams for some reason. But Alpine doesn't. You don't have Lotus Renault F1 somewhere over there, which can absorb Jack Doohan.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with Doohan. As of now, he'll be the reserve driver.
Yeah. At least as of now, he's still a Renault Alpine driver. Nothing's been announced yet.
Yes.
But yeah, like you say, probably this weekend they'll make the announcement for Imola.
Yeah.
But yeah. But also, man, Aniket, Jack Doohan's agent is Flavio Briatore. How is this allowed?
Yeah, I
Why is
mean,
Doohan not firing him yet?
they're going in a new direction. I don't know why Doohan not firing him.
Yeah. It boggles the mind, honestly. Anyways, yeah, I think that's it for today, Aniket. From us, we had a long Ferrari discussion to start the
Yeah.
pod, but
It almost became a Ferrari bashing pod, which is
yeah,
deserved.
well deserved. I think honestly that was the most interesting thing that happened in the race. I'm using
Yeah.
the word interesting very loosely here, but depressing for us. But I think that was the most interesting episode all days because I mean, sure, you know McLaren win. We pretty much predicted a McLaren win, both of us.
Yes.
Like we had to go to hot takes to even think of a podium for another team.
I know.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically a wrap on Miami. We'll be back next week to preview Imola, the Autodromo, Enzo, the Ferrari, whatever.
Something.
You
Let's
want
just
to?
call it. Let's just call it Imola. That's it.
Yep. But
Yeah.
yes, the Formula One AWS Gran Premio del Made in Italy e del Emilia Romagna. Here you go.
Imola. For me, it will always remain
It's
Imola.
always Imola, yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you want to feel nostalgic, the San Marino Grand Prix.
San Marino Grand Prix. Yes.
Yes. But yeah, we'll do a preview of Imola at the Enzo Ferrari Autodrome next week. This is obviously Ferrari's home race. Contrary to popular belief, Imola is
And they're
closer to
going in.
Ferrari's home than Monza is.
They're going in probably the worst form of the
Yeah,
season
worst form in like
to the
6 years,
race.
man. Like in 5 years.
So let's see what Ferrari fans will expect there.
Yeah. All right, folks. That's me, Aniket, and me signing off for today. Do make sure to tell your friends, tell your family, tell whoever you know, who anybody's interested in F1 to give us a follow, give us a listen. Leave a comment on how we can improve, on how we can get better for you. We're always making more content. And yeah, that's it from us. This is Pod on the Apex.